Hello, everybody. Um, Anyone there? How's everyone doing tonight? Can someone let me know? Ben, can you hear me? Well, I'm talking, so oh, good. We're on. Well, you can see here by my tabs, I got a lot of stuff potentially to talk about tonight. As always, if you have anything that you want me to talk about or questions or things, throw it up on the chat and we'll go from there. Hey Jason, good to see you. Yep, I'm getting better at streaming. I think I've figured out most of the technical issues. So I wanted to start because I just did the video on the range extension for the Cybertruck, and I saw this. I'm not sure how many of you guys have seen this Instagram video, but and I'm not sure this is from a link, so I don't know. I never use Instagram, so I don't know anything about it. But this is a super cool fan art rendering of a deployable solar array. So I'm just going to show it here real quick. It's only like 10 seconds long or 20 seconds, but it's super cool. There's no sound, by the way, or there's a little sound, but you can't hear it. It's hardly. I just think that's pretty epic. Here, I'm going to show it again here real quick. Man. So the thing that I like about this concept, and I have no idea, I am not a mechanical engineer, I'm not any kind of an engineer. But what I love about this idea is it doesn't strike me initially as impossible. Now, maybe super expensive, cost $50,000 to make. Okay, probably. But conceptually, I think this is an amazing idea in terms of how could a quote unquote solar wing work. Because one of the things that when I was thinking about this, of course, we know that um, Musk mentioned, oh my, I don't know, can you hear my people are tweeting me and calling me? I'm declining everybody. You guys are more important. So the thing that I was puzzled by, he mentioned making the tonneau cover solar, but I was having a hard time figuring out how you would do wings from if you had a in the bed. Like I was imagining something coming out of the bed. The idea didn't even dawn on me of removing the existing tonneau cover and putting a hard tonneau cover in place that had these actuators to actually lift up a solar panel. And honestly, it doesn't seem like this is an impossible idea. Now, of course, they cheated by giving themselves some extra length in the bed by adding an axle. I think this is bigger than the regular Cybertruck, but nevertheless, I thought it was super cool. Well, no, I think it would replace the rolling cover. So I think that's the beauty of this design is that they thought they just got rid of the other tonneau cover. So even if this, like the powered actuator with the expanding, like even if that didn't work, I don't see any reason why you couldn't replace the rolling tonneau cover with a hard tonneau cover like this as a regular pop-up type tonneau cover and have like manually folding solar panels or manually sliding out solar panels. You wouldn't have to have all the actuators, and honestly, these could just be manual trays that you pull out like an awning. I personally thought it was a brilliant concept, as because it just got rid of the rolling tonneau cover and it came up with another option, which I just thought was amazing. So let's see here. I didn't really have anything to add to that, except this is the first time I was able to conceptualize a solar wing design with the Cybertruck, because I couldn't figure out how it would work, like flipping out from the bed like this, but having it integrated with the tonneau cover and getting rid of the rolling tonneau cover, pretty clever. Okay, let's see here. Nothing else? All right, let's go on to the next thing. So I've been wondering, is the chance to get a Cybertruck in 2021 vanishing based on where we're at in the process? They haven't even officially selected a site. Now, this article, obviously, most of you who've been following this will have heard that this was kind of, based on what I understood, this was sort of one of the last hurdles that had to be addressed before Tesla could say yay or nay on the site in Austin. And it sounds like they're moving forward with the site. So there's been no official announcements, but it seems like unless Tulsa pulls a rabbit out of the hat, that even if Tesla announces they're going to do something in Tulsa, it does look like Austin is probably where the plant is likely to head. And so the question is, based on the Shanghai plant, when that was announced, when they started construction, and when they actually had the plant complete, and then based on what is happening with Berlin, can we hope that there will actually be Cybertrucks getting produced in the new plant by the end of next year? So I just did some back of the napkin calculations here. Oh yeah, it's doing this thing. Okay. So we know that the Shanghai plant was finished within 10 months, and it was finished ahead of schedule. I tried to find how much ahead of schedule Shanghai was completed. I thought it was either 2 or 3 months, but maybe some of you that have been following this longer than me or more closely than I have know how far ahead of schedule. And we also know that they've given us a tentative production start date of July of 21 for Giga Berlin, and that was a total of 17 months. Now, again, if they end up beating this, then I'm optimistic based on how much more efficient Tesla's getting at designing and building these plants, that they could exceed this deadline. But then, of course, we know that there's more regulations, and there's not the same mentality in Europe as there is in China, as far as, for good or ill, China's gotten really good at building things super fast. So the question is, what could we assume optimistically for the Cybertruck? And so if they announce in August, they should be able to start the site prep as far as grading and doing like tree removal and that kind of stuff. You can move ahead pretty quickly on those. You don't necessarily have to get like a fixed bid. You can have a contractor that's willing to come out and work on a time and materials basis, so you can start quickly. So they could conceivably start site prep within a month or two after they announce. Now, of course, I'm saying, hey, I hope they can, announce it next month This month would be great, but next month, and they could start construction as early as September of 2020. So that gives us 15 months. 15 months between when they could conceivably start construction and when they would have to have a plant open that could produce Cybertrucks. So the question, or my I guess my thesis is, it seems reasonable if they can get the ball rolling now. I think they can probably build the plant faster in Texas than in Europe, probably not as fast as China. But I also know, because there's no, initially, I'm assuming they're not going to do a paint booth or a paint building at the plant, because that would add, some time. So I think what they're going to do, my guess is they're going to focus on getting a Cybertruck line built, and then they'll worry about doing the Model Y line the same way they're doing in Shanghai with the Model 3 and the Model Y. So my guess is, because there's no paint booth, all that equipment, and because the tooling of the Cybertruck line is going to be much less sophisticated as the other lines, and that's based on Sandy Monroe's comments that you would be about a third to a quarter of a regular truck or car production line, because you'd be getting rid of a lot of the stamping and, of course, the paint. So my thinking is they're probably not going to have the battery line up and running at the same speed as they can get the Cybertruck line up and running. So my prediction would be they can probably be producing the Cybertrucks as quickly as the building is complete, almost, call it 60 days after the building is complete. So if they can complete construction in 12 months, I think it's very possible they could be producing Cybertrucks in another 2 months after that, whatever you want to, a month, 30 days after that. But they might have to be bringing in battery packs initially. So, because I think they're going to be, if they do batteries there, I think they're going to be doing their own battery technology, unless they announce that they're going to partner with Panasonic again for another wave of installs, which, I mean, it's not crazy, but it doesn't seem like it fits with the specs of the Cybertruck as far as like delivering on the range. I think they're probably going to need new battery technology. So, okay. Well, I don't know, but no one's confirmed that they're building Cybertrucks in the tent. Any other questions? Let's see. Yeah, Irv, I think, so most of us won't see our trucks, but I think there's a chance that some Cybertrucks will roll off the line in 2021. So yeah, most of us won't. If you remember, like when they first got Giga Shanghai up, they were doing like 1,000 a week, and they were still using batteries brought in from the States. So at least that's how I think I recall that happening. So I guess my point is, yeah, I think that we're not going to see significant deliveries in 2021, but I think we could see 1,000 or 2,000 or 4,000. I think we could get 4 weeks of actual Cybertruck production in by late 2021. And from my perspective, that would be awesome, just to be there, because we've seen how quickly, once they get there, they can ramp up the other components. So I still think if they announce by, I can't see, it's really, if they don't announce by August, then I think it gets really hard. The time frame just seems super tight, because I just don't see us building it faster than the Chinese built it. Maybe I would love Texas surprise me. That'd be awesome if they did. Okay. Let's see here. I'm looking to see if there's any questions. How much truck would you replace? Oh, so Leo, okay, that's a great question. of which so the question Salil had is, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, is if the Cybertruck gets in a crash, how do you repair it? What's the process of fixing it? I am clueless. What I am hoping is I'm constantly on the Sandy Monroe's page, and I'm asking them questions about future ideas for videos to do. That's who I think is going to have to, if Tesla doesn't address it, somebody that knows stainless steel and knows much more about this, because it's in its own league. So I don't really know. And I'm not sure he can answer that until he can actually get a Cybertruck and look at the different components. But anyway, good question. I'm not sure how to answer that. Let's see. See any other, I don't see any questions. I can't read every comment, but okay. If anybody wants to trade me, I will gladly take the first production truck, or gladly. It would obviously help my YouTube channel out a lot. So I think historically, don't they usually deliver the first vehicles to Tesla employees? I thought they did that, but maybe that's a rumor. I'm not really that worried about. So the reason I'm not worried about the Cybertruck, and I think I talked about this last week, as far as early production, is the two big reasons. The first is their dramatic improvement in fit and finish and quality from the Model 3 to the Model Y. And the second is, I actually think the Cybertruck is going to be much simpler to assemble. It's going to have way less problems in terms of failure points. And the problems that will be there, I think, are going to be, if I had to speculate where there's going to be failures, would be, to me, the thing that's most risky is the air suspension. And that's expensive, but easy to, in other words, it'll be covered in the warranty. The reason I say that is they're going to be doing something totally new with that suspension. And I think that's the biggest place where there could be failure. And so I don't think they're going to fail in the electronics. I don't think they're going to fail with the way they assemble the motors. And so most of the components are relatively predictable for them to produce high quality based on their past experience. So to me, the biggest point of failure or risk is the suspension. And the nice thing about suspensions is that they're easily accessible. And so if there is a rash, failures with the air suspension on the front end, I'm confident they'll figure it out and they'll fix it. And I think it'll be fine. So I'm not worried about getting the first one. So I've already said I will gladly trade my place in line for anybody that has an early. If people are worried, I will gladly trade. I don't know if that'll even be an option, but I will gladly trade spots for one of my reservations. And I don't care which one. I've got a dual and a tri-motor, and I'd be glad. Either one of them I'm super excited to get my hands on. Okay. Yeah, Salil, I don't think so. Again, I kind of addressed this before, but I don't think those are T-slots. I think I have a minority or controversial opinion on this, but I believe they're simply milled grooves. If you look at any truck bed, because you put like plywood and sheet metal and other things that can adhere like through cohesion to the bed of the truck, you need to have grooves, or the way regular trucks have it is they have kind of a peak and valley design in order for things not to get stuck and also for drainage. So my belief, based on kind of going into the rabbit hole on this, is that those are not T-slots. I believe that those are just milled grooves and they'll wash out. I could be wrong. No one's been able to get up close to that And there's the only place that said it's T-Slots is either Inside EV or Tesla. I can't remember. It's just one source that actually saw the Cybertruck up close that said those were T-Slots. But then the Motor Trend guys just referred to them as milled grooves. And they spent a lot more time with it than the people that were there the night of the reveal. And they're motor journalists, and I would think something like that would stand out. So that's my theory. I don't think those are T-Slots on the bottom. So in that case, they're fine. Their stuff won't get stuck in them. Okay, so let's see here. I think, how many do I think they will build in year one? If you mean 12 months after they start production, I think they will build, my guess is 50 to 75, maybe optimistically 100,000. But I think year two, they could do 250. I think it's going to take them a little bit of time to figure out how to speed things up. My theory is that if they can do battery production, they'll build a second Cybertruck line alongside the first one, because it's, again, according to Sandy Monroe, the actual tooling's cost of building a Cybertruck line is going to be about $30 million. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to get the first line running. They're going to work the kinks out. And then if they have the battery capacity, I think they're just going to build a second line adjacent to the first. And I don't think it's going to be that expensive or difficult to do. And again, that's something I could conceivably see them using, like tents or some such. That's what's nice about down there in Texas is the weather is such, as you can see with SpaceX, they can use those tents. We have one of those tents, by the way. You guys didn't know that, but we use one of those tents as our salt dome. They work awesome. They're great. Okay. Air wiper blades. Mark, did you not see my theory on that? I don't think they're air wiper blades, but I don't know for sure. Okay. Any other questions? I don't think so. Okay. So I wanted to talk a second about Rivian. At this point, I think Rivian is the only legitimate competition for the Cybertruck. And I'm starting because I wanted to show you guys this. Now, maybe someone out there loves this. This is Lordstown interior. I wasn't impressed with the Lordstown exterior. I wasn't impressed with their specs. And I'm not that impressed with their interior. It just, to me, is like it's a regular truck. It's as expensive as a dual motor Cybertruck, and it doesn't have any of the features, or not any, but it doesn't have the excitement of the Rivian at all. And to me, aesthetically, I think, even though I prefer personally, so far, of the EV trucks that have come out, personally, I think the Badger is the coolest looking of the competitors, but it's, at this point, it's just CGI. I mean, so I can't really take the Badger seriously until they actually have a working prototype. And until we can actually vet that what they're saying, that they have this great battery technology, is really real. And it might be. Again, I've mentioned this before. I'm not as skeptical about what is it again? Why does their name just escape me? I'm not as skeptical about the Badger as a lot of people are, because of the investments in why can't I think of their company's name now? It's like brain fart. What's, you guys know? I can't. Anyway, whatever that company is, the hydrogen company. I can't believe it. I blanked out on them. So anyway, The point is, after the Badger, I think the best looking truck is the Rivian. Now, if they would just fix those headlights. That's the only part. I actually really like the Rivian except for those headlights. I just can't help but feeling it looks like a surprised cartoon character. But they have an operational prototype. If you didn't see the reaction video I did about their off-road video, hey, as much as I love the Cybertruck, they haven't done the stuff that the Rivian has done. I haven't seen any videos where the Cybertruck's been out tackling these kind of let me see, this stuff. So Rivian is actually doing it. They have a working prototype. They're out in the proving grounds, and they just got $2.5 billion more. So to me, the Rivian feels really legitimate. Like I think it's going to happen. I think these guys are legitimate. Now, the thing is that for a long time, people have been talking about this whole idea of Tesla killers. And I don't think any of the successful EVs are at all Tesla killer. I think that they're an internal combustion killer. If you look at other companies that led the way in innovative designs, and the one is easy to refer to as Apple with the iPhone. The iPhone only has like 10 or maybe 20% market share. All the other phones out there have the majority of the market share compared to the iPhone. But the point is that as those other phones came on board, what they did was they didn't knock off Apple. They knocked off the Motorola and Nokia and the other legacy phone companies. And so that's what I think we're going to see. I think Rivian, to me, on every level so far, of even of the regular mainstream people that are making EVs, to me, it's basically at this point the three most legitimate companies are Tesla, BYD in China. They're cranking out EVs like crazy, and Rivian. And then you have some of the legacy. So then I would put kind of in, I wouldn't say a distant fourth, but I would say in fourth position is Volkswagen. And that's what I see as far as EVs. So on the EV truck landscape, I am super excited to see Rivian being successful. I want them to be successful. I think there's a lot of people that they either don't like the aesthetics of the Cybertruck, or it doesn't check off the boxes. For instance, the Rivian's smaller. One of the knocks on the Cybertruck is it's so big. The Rivian there's going to be some places where the Rivian's going to do a better job off-road than the Cybertruck. I think there's going to be some places the Cybertruck will do better than the Rivian, but I think that I'm really excited to see Rivian get launched, and I want to see one of them. I want to drive one of them. I'm super excited about the Rivian. That's the one I'm most excited about. Okay, so yeah. Well, I think So if you're evaluating trucks, I think the Cybertruck wins on price. I think it wins kind of on utility. The breadth of its utility. It can do so many things pretty well. It can be a commuter, a family hauler, an off-road, a work truck. It can do all those things. A Rivian's nichier. To me, Rivian reminds me a lot of my Tacoma, which is not in the same level sales volume as the big guys, but it's very profitable for Toyota. It's very popular for people that are, if you live in a city, your parking is constrained. This is going to appeal to you a lot more than a Cybertruck. This will not have a problem getting into a garage. To me, I think Rivian's going to have a really good, successful niche. And I think their price is a little high, but it's not crazy high. And they haven't used any of their credits, so they're going to have $7,500 of credits on their first, whatever it is, 100 or 150,000 vehicles. So so let's see here. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was. I just wanted to mention that. Okay, I didn't put this in my little agenda that I put out there, but I thought it was worth mentioning because no one really is talking that much about the semi. I mean, some people talk about it from like business standpoint, but I want to just mention this because I thought this is kind of a big deal. So, California last month basically passed a law mandating that by 2030, I think, I can't remember exactly, all of the trucks doing trucking in the state of California have to be electric vehicles. I haven't dove in enough. I don't know if like hybrids qualify, et cetera, et cetera. I'd have to look at that. This just happened. This came out like yesterday or the day before. So I didn't spend a bunch of time on it, but I do think it's a big deal because one of the things that people fail to realize is all of the regulatory support that is behind electric vehicles and especially semis. And as far as I know, there are no, I think these are referred to as Class 8, the big semis. So there's another class of commercial trucks that are kind of the size that my company uses. They're sort of they're like in the 8 to 12 ton range or 16 ton range. They're like for in-town deliveries and, garbage trucks, that kind of stuff. And then there's this next class up that is basically these over-the-road trucks. And I don't know of anyone else that is close to being ready to go to production as Tesla is with the Tesla Semi. And you have all this regulatory force that's going to be making fleet purchasers, there's a lot of trucks having to run in California. So they're already thinking about it. Now, all of a sudden, in the last like week or 2 weeks or something, 15 other states have gotten on board. Basically, by having 15 states do something, you essentially force the whole country to do it because you can't route your truck all around to the places that don't require this. And so I think this is going to really push fleet buyers much more aggressively to start thinking, oh my God, we need to start buying electric semis now or in a year or in 2 years, not 5 or 10 years from now. So I just think that's, that kind of came out of the blue. I haven't seen anybody even talk about this. And I think this is a major, major deal. So, yeah, it's a truck thing. So I wanted to just show you guys this. I'm trying to come up with a t-shirt that is interesting and, not just like I've seen other people do t-shirts and they kind of seem boring to me. So I went out to Fiverr and I tried to pay to have somebody do a t-shirt that I wanted it to be kind of badass. And so, the slogan I came up with was edgy tree hugger, just because, it's got edges. And then on the back here, it says bulletproof, brutalist, badass. And one of the things that it's not that I don't like it. I understand why, but the whole world of electric vehicles has been, especially if you live here in Truckland, has been painted with the brush of, oh, they're for the coastal, rich people, the tech people. And the whole thing I love about the Cybertruck is, to me, it speaks to a totally different type of passion and enthusiasm for the electric vehicles that is badass, that is edgy, that is aggressive. And so anyway, I don't know. I'm not sure if anyone even cares about that, but I just thought I'd share that. And, if you have any thoughts on it, let me know. But this is, I think, going to be the first t-shirt that we, make out. Okay. All right. Now let's see. Okay. The reason I wanted to do this part last is I know that when I talk about off-roading, there's a chunk that kind of disengaged. There are people that they're not interested in off-roading and they don't want to go off-roading and they're not that interested when I talk about it. So I wanted to put this section at the end because I want to talk about the meetup, the 2022 meetup. And I also want to, the last week when I did my live stream, I was trying to show you guys some of the tools that I use to plan my off-roading, and the browser crashed and whatever, and several people were interested in it, but kind of I lost momentum, but I wanted to come back and revisit those around the concept of talking about the meetup. So this is the last thing I'm going to talk about. So if you're not interested in the meetup and you're not interested in off-roading, you could be done, because this is what I'm going to talk about for the rest of the live stream, unless somebody asks a question. All right, so the meetup. So here's my plan. My plan is that in July or August of 2022, we're going to do a Cybertruck meetup. Now, I know most of us won't have our Cybertrucks, but I think some of us will, and some of us might be coming to the meetup. I'm going to do this kind of no matter what. If no one has their Cybertruck, I'm doing this anyway. I love to go off-roading, as you guys know, and I know that a bunch of you have vehicles that are off-road capable, and the goal is that even if you just have a stock SUV, a RAV4 or something, I'm going to organize this in a place where there's really cool places to go, even if you just have like a regular SUV, not doing anything crazy gnarly. And my hope is, no matter what, my hope is by 2023 to do another one and maybe move it around a little bit. But the goal is that I want people who have Cybertrucks that are interested in off-roading to have a place where they can kind of come and get a taste of it, because it can be kind of intimidating, especially at first. And it's a lot easier to get into off-roading if you do it with some other people, and you do it, I would say, in a less kind of crazy environment. That's the goal is. And the other thing is, I think it would be super cool for hardcore fans of the Cybertruck to have a place where they can gather and meet up. And I'm sure there's going to be other meetups and all that other stuff. That's totally fine. This is just my own idea, and something I'd like to do, annually or maybe every other year, depends, but definitely in 2022 and in 2023 when we're starting to get a lot of Cybertrucks, because I probably am not going to get mine for 2 years. So my selfish reason is maybe I'll get a chance to, sit in one of your guys' Cybertrucks. So let me tell you what I'm thinking about here. Let me do this real quick. Okay. So I want to do this in Colorado because it's pretty central. And even though I really wanted, there's other places, honestly, there's other places I would rather go to do an off-road event if it was just me. Like if I was just going on my own. I haven't had a chance to do anything in Moab. I really want to get out to Moab, and I'd really like to do some stuff up in like Idaho and Washington, just because it's a little different terrain and landscape. But Colorado is awesome nonetheless. And so part of the process of planning the meetup is scouting out enough. So there's two factors. Factor number one is there needs to be enough infrastructure so that, let's say, 30 or 40 Cybertrucks can be in this area and can get access to charging, get access to campsites that have power. That's number one. Number two, I'm looking for an area that will have a wide variety of terrain so that there's some challenging stuff, some stuff that will push the Cybertruck a little bit if you want to do it, and then some kind of medium stuff, and then some easy stuff so that people can kind of dip their toe into the world of off-roading. And so that makes me attracted to, I tend to be favoring this part of Colorado, even though I know that down here there are some really awesome trails. So what's the difference? Okay. So I'm walking you through this so you can kind of see what goes into thinking about an off-road trip and also thinking about doing an off-road event where you have other people that are a part of it. So this is, this is what I call the Salida or Salida area. The reason I like this part, so let me go back over here. So that's kind of right down here in this area. So the pros and cons of this is that from a pro standpoint, it's not crowded. Down here, you guys, this gets crazy crowded, especially on the weekends. And the reason why, number two, is that these are two different kinds of environment. So this is what I would call low desert mountains. So when I say low, they're not low, but they're low relative to these guys. Over here, this is alpine mountains. So alpine basically means you're getting above the tree line. You're getting up to like 12 and 13,000 feet. So the problem with this area is because it's real, because the mountains are, I don't know how, the valleys, there's steep valleys everywhere. There's not a bunch of wide open areas. That's what I'm trying to say. It's super cool terrain, but as far as like a lot of campgrounds with power, they're crushed together. You're surrounded by a lot of people. There's a lot of traffic, and these get very busy because the passes only are navigable for like a couple months out of the year, you know, kind of from like end of June to early September. And sometimes they're open longer than that, but you can get snow as late as like mid-September and all of a sudden the pass is closed, or late September or whatever. People that live in Colorado will know this better than me. But the reason I'm leaning towards this area is there's a lot more camp facilities. So here's the other thing you have to remember. Sometimes it's not just you, right? You're coming, you're bringing the wife, you're bringing the kids. They may not want to go off-roading all day. So the other reason I like this area is you're close enough to Colorado Springs and Salida. They're really like, it's a cool area. If you have a wife or girlfriend that comes along, especially if they have their own vehicle or they want to go off, this is a super cool area for, you know, people that aren't into off-roading to go shopping and all that other stuff. And then Colorado Springs. So I'm kind of leaning towards this area. So when I said low mountains, let me just show you. This is one of the easier trails, and you can see that you're not crossing these super high mountains, but still you're getting spectacular views. And so this is personal preference. I kind of prefer this landscape, like from a natural beauty standpoint, than the super high mountain passes. That's just personal preference. I'm more leaning towards this because of where it's located and the different kind of trails. So that's one of the trails. I'm just trying to show a sample. This one is a little more, it has a little more challenging things. But what I wanted to show you guys is when you look at this, if you've never off-roaded before, look at this. Isn't that hard? This is not crazy. This is kind of the most aggressive part of this trail. You know, this kind of washboard roads where you're going to have some ruts, but it's not going to be, you're not going to be like hanging on to the, you know, the whatever. I don't even know. There might not even be handlebars inside the Cybertruck. That's one thing I'm a little worried about. No hand grabs. But anyway, that's what that area looks like. And this is what, let's see. So this is what a lot of people think about when they think about off-roading. So this is a, I just want to show you this. So this is considered a level 6 to 8 trail inside of Trails Off-Road. That's like extreme. So let me go back here to the overview map. So this is Poughkeepsie Gulch, which I believe is this guy right here. So I want to show you something. Look at the red. 1, 2 red sections. Look at all the green and yellow. Green is easy. Basically, you wouldn't even need an SUV to do the green. You just need something that has probably 6 or 7 inches of clearance. Yellow is medium. Stock SUV, no problem. Look at the red. This is what annoys me about the people that are like, oh, it won't be able to do this, this, and this. Yeah, I know. But when you look at what most trails are, they're mostly green and gold. And you have some reds mixed in there. And look what else. It's easy to avoid them. It's super easy to avoid them. You don't get in these places accidentally unless you decide to go exploring on your own. So if you have a concern about going off-roading, you can take it in stages and you can sort of step your way up. And I think, again, the subscription for this, I think it's like $25 a year. It's nothing. All right. The other thing is that I wanted to show you somebody asked, how do you tell when you're in a national forest or a national park? How do you tell what's allowed and not allowed? Okay, so when you look at this, just to draw your point to it, this represents the trails that are marked on here. And I can tell you, in this area, there are some super fun trails that don't even show up on this map. So what's going to happen after you start to do this a little bit, you're going to go, okay, well, where else can I go? And the fun thing about this is you get to go adventuring. You get to go exploring. So every national forest and national park has these. They're called motor vehicle use maps. They're free. You can download them as a PDF. And there's a really cool app where you can actually, in some places they have these in a digital format, and you can see your position and GPS on this map. So all these little, I don't know if you guys can see this. I'm going to zoom in a little more. Okay. So you can see there's different codes to mark different kinds of trails. And I'm not going to show you the legend right now because hopefully you understand how to do this. This tells you what are the roads that are allowable for you to go on. What are the ones that are restricted? They might be like restricted just for motorcycles and ATVs with restricted. And then you can tell if it's not on this map, if there's another road and it's not on this map, it's not legal to be on it. Now, I'm not saying no one ever goes off and everyone gets prosecuted for doing it. No, but I'm saying if you want to be, to me, you ruin the ability to do off-roading when you go off these places, because that's when property owners get really mad and they go to the state and they try and pass rules that prevent you from off-roading. So I'm a super big believer in sticking on the stuff that's legal for you to be on. And trust me, there is so much. So this is one ranger district in the Salida, or this might be the whole ranger district. I can't tell. And there's in the Salida National, or the San Isabel National Forest, the Salida Ranger District. Yeah, this is one ranger district inside of one national forest in one state. And there is so many little trails and roads and places to go and explore. It's infinite. It's infinite. And you know what else is super cool about this? On national forest land, not national park, national forest land, and also BLM land, but I'm not going to get into all that. Just national forest for now, which are most of the public lands in the West. So national parks are like really small. National forests are huge. Let me just show you here. Again, if you have an off-road, you won't necessarily know that. But kind of like, well, no, that's not true. I was going to say they don't show it here. Like in Colorado, the national forests take up almost like 2/3 of the state. You're allowed to camp anywhere in the national forest for free, as long as you're not driving into like virgin landscape. As long as there's tire tracks there and people have already camped there before, you're allowed to go driving around, and you can find a spot, you pull in. It's free. Some of these spots, I'm telling you, they are the most gorgeous, unbelievable camping spots you've ever seen. And you're by yourself. You don't have a bunch of people around and all this other stuff. And then if you can be out for a couple of days with your Cybertruck, 3 days. And then after a few days, usually I want to go camp somewhere where I can like eat from a restaurant and get a shower. You can drive into a campground, pay for whatever, 30 or 40 bucks for your campsite, and you're going to get to charge your Cybertruck for free. I mean, you could do an epic vacation into some of the most gorgeous country in the world for a couple $100. I mean, it's just nuts. The Cybertruck is going to unlock so many opportunities. So I just wanted to, kind of walk you guys through. So here's my plan with the meetup. My plan is I'm going to go scout next year. Now I am leaning towards that Salida area over some of the other more rugged areas. And you guys are welcome to try and talk me into something else, but I'm leaning towards that. Number one, because I have some experience in that area. Number two, I think it's got a lot of variety. And number three, it's pretty close to the city. So if you bring your significant other and they want to not do off-roading for a day, they can have fun. It's much more conducive. You get over here and it's really limited. Like if your wife or girlfriend doesn't like off-roading and they want to go do something, they're going to be kind of stuck. So that's just my own rationale for picking that area. And so, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to kind of show you guys what goes into it. So let's see. Let's see. Are there any other questions? Yeah. Moab is gorgeous. Honestly, seriously, I will tell you guys, I don't care what you come to the meetup with. There will be stuff that you can drive. I don't care if it's I know someone said a Volt. There's beautiful, gorgeous off-pavement stuff that you can drive with just a sedan. It's entertaining. You'll be out there and there's like my truck, Tacoma, and a Jeep and whatever, all these things. And all of a sudden you'll be out there and a Camry comes along. No joke. Or a Cadillac or something. What's great about most of these trails is that there's usually a really well maintained access road that it's gravel and it's not like you're not going to want to drive more than like 25 miles an hour on it. But that any vehicle can drive on these roads. And then which detours you take off, which trails, which other stuff, then that's based on your vehicle and your risk tolerance and honestly your willingness to damage your vehicle some. That's part of the fun is trying to get as close as you can to the edge of damaging your vehicle without actually damaging it, although I usually end up damaging something. So the anything else? Yeah. Yeah, that I know. I've been in the other parts of Colorado, and I have been through Moab. I'm the big thing for me is central. I want something that's central. So it takes me about 12 hours to. Now I know if you're coming from like LA or something, you got a longer drive. Like that, Californians would rather we do something in Moab, which I understand. I'm trying to find something that like people from the north and the south, it's kind of central. So that's why I'm looking at this particular spot, especially for the first one. If this kind of goes well, I think we'll do, and I'm sure other people will do this too, but I'm sure we'll move it around, and I'm sure I definitely want to do one in Moab for sure. Like that's on my bucket list. Also to do with my motorcycle. Okay. Any other questions? Mark, Bronco, what? I don't know what you want to know about the Bronco. I mean, I did a video on it. I think the Bronco is gorgeous, personally. I'm super interested to see how it does off-roading. Obviously I'm not going to buy one. I think that the Cybertruck can do most of what the Bronco can do. And someone posted on my Bronco video or commented on my Bronco video today that, but I can have the Bronco next year. And I'm like, true. That's true. If you're like in a position where you have to buy a new vehicle now and it's got to be a overlanding rig, it seems like the Bronco is going to be pretty epic. But I think it's a gorgeous, awesome truck. I wish that they had done a model for electric, but it is what it is. My son did not have COVID. He tested negative. So so far that's great. He just had a fever for like 6 days, 5 days. And he had lung problems. He had basically everything. And then it took us 7 days to get the test, by the way. I don't know what it's like everywhere else, but he was recovering by the time we got the results. Okay. Again, zero off-road motorcycle. So if you do dirt biking, you'll understand this intuitively. The problem with electric dirt bikes is that, there's my class of motorcycle is called an adventure touring motorcycle. It's not a dirt bike. So mine is designed to go like 6, 8, 10, 12 hours a day on long kind of cross-country expeditions. Dirt bikes they're not intended for doing like long range traveling. They're intended for doing short, technical, stuff. And riding a dirt bike and that kind of terrain, and an adventure motorcycle to some extent, but not as much as a dirt bike, is actually brutal physically. It's like the hardest workout you can imagine. So most guys that are riding a dirt bike really hard for an hour or an hour and a half, I need a break. So, and the other thing with dirt bikes is you tend to stay pretty close to your rig. So it's a lot easier if you're riding a dirt bike to circle back around and swap out a battery if you have an electric dirt bike. But for adventure motorcycles, that's not an option because you're not like driving your dirt bike somewhere. You're actually riding your motorcycle cross country. So, but as far as I've heard, everything about this most recent generation of Zero and also KTM is doing electric motorcycles, that they're awesome. They're amazing. The torque, all the same reasons that it's awesome in a truck, they're awesome. It's just that you have to be prepared to swap out the battery every 60 to 90 minutes. But if you're into dirt bikes and you do motocross and that kind of stuff, I think they're amazing. Okay. I think that is it. Yeah, I think that's it. Well, and we're right in an hour. Perfect. Not that it has to go an hour. Last week, I think I only went 22 or 24 minutes. If I don't have anything to talk about, I'll do this. We'll jump on. We can chat for, 20 or 30 minutes and then call it good. But there was a lot of things I wanted to talk about this week. So, okay. I think that's it. Royal Enfields, they're kind of their own thing. I've ridden with a guy who had a Royal Enfield. He liked it. They're inexpensive, fairly rugged. I think they're fine. There's just like trucks, any vehicle, there's trade-offs in motorcycles. So, okay. Thanks for all your well wishes about my son. That's great. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys. 35-inch tires is what I heard for the Cybertruck. All right. I think that's it. I think the chances of a midgate are better than 50%. They're not, I wouldn't put it much higher than that, but I think it's better than 50%. All right, guys. We'll catch you next week.